The HOA fined me $1,200 because my daughter laughed too loud. They thought they could bully a single mom into silence. Instead, I bought the playground they loved more than their kids. My name is Ava Sinclair, and this story isn't just about an HOA rulebook. It's about the day I realized my little girl's laughter was considered a threat, and the moment I decided I'd never be quiet again. I moved into the Crescent Hills Estates 2 summers ago. Picture perfect. Gated, manicured, HOA dues like rent on a second apartment. But I was desperate. My ex-husband had just finalized the divorce, and I needed a safe neighborhood for my daughter, Lily. She was 5, bright, loud, loved bubbles, sidewalk chalk, and screaming, "I'm a unicorn," at the top of her lungs. And I loved her for it. The house was a stretch, old money neighbors and tight-lipped golf dads, but I was working full-time, teaching remotely, and piecing our life back together. Lily was thriving. Our backyard was her jungle, and I kept the yard clean, HOA compliant, and absolutely ordinary. Until the first violation letter came. Noise disturbance recorded on June 5th, 3:22 p.m. Excessive vocalization. HOA code 4.3. Fine, $150. I laughed at first. Vocalization? Then I saw the envelope was hand-delivered, with a sticky note on the back. Please keep your child under control. HOA Board Chair, Mrs. Ellison. I wanted to scream. Instead, I called the number listed. No answer. I emailed. Automated reply. So I did what they wanted. I apologized. We went to the park that week instead of staying home. 2 weeks passed. Another notice. Violation disruption of community peace. Singing heard during quiet hours, 2 to 4 p.m. Fine, $300. My daughter had been humming while drawing chalk rainbows. No speaker, no screaming, just a child being happy. I asked my neighbor, Mr. Green, the only friendly face I knew, if he'd heard anything. He hesitated, then leaned in. Mrs. Ellison says you're setting a precedent. She doesn't like renters or single moms. She thinks it starts with singing and ends in graffiti. I stared at him. Renters? I bought this house with my own damn savings. Doesn't matter. You're not one of them. The next month, the HOA board voted to ban chalk on sidewalks. No explanation, just visual disruption to community aesthetic. Then they banned balloons, bicycles on sidewalks, any music or vocal noise between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., which, if you're keeping track, is literally the entire time a child is awake. Each violation carried escalating fines. My mailbox became a legal inbox. I started photographing everything, documenting times, letters, recordings. They stalked our schedule. One board member, Mr. Albright, even filmed us from behind a hedge when Lily was blowing bubbles. I confronted him. He didn't flinch. Just making sure you're not breaking community code, ma'am. Ma'am. He said it like I was dirt under his loafer. Then came the incident. One Tuesday afternoon, Lily was in the yard playing with a cardboard rocket ship I helped her build. She was roaring and counting down from 10. Across the street, HOA President Vivian Ellison stepped out of her Audi, glared across the road, and dialed her phone. Moments later, a security SUV rolled up. Not the police, not even real security. HOA security. They claimed my daughter's noise was a potential emergency disturbance. They wrote a report. They tried to give my 5-year-old a verbal warning. I lost it. You're giving a toddler a citation for pretending to be an astronaut? Ma'am, please lower your voice. My voice? You're harassing a child. Ma'am, this is your 3rd warning. Your next citation will include board evaluation. Great. Tell Vivian to evaluate this. I won't repeat what I said, but I ended up with another fine. This time, $1,200. That night, I tucked Lily into bed, but my heart wasn't in it. I sat on the back steps with a cup of tea, watching the moon rise over a silent, perfect neighborhood. She cried. She asked why we couldn't play anymore, and I didn't have an answer. That was the moment. The break. I opened my laptop. I dug through public records. I found the HOA's corporate filings, property deeds, and the lease on the park and playground. Guess what? The HOA didn't own the playground. They leased it, year to year, from a private development group. And that lease was about to expire in 90 days. 3 months. That's how long they had left on their lease for the only playground in Crescent Hills Estates. The pride of their rulebook, their crown jewel of HOA marketing. Family-friendly community featuring a private members-only park. I made a few phone calls. The park and green lot were still owned by Silvercrest Holdings, a small real estate group that developed Crescent Hills 12 years ago. The HOA had leased the land for $1 a year, just long enough to maintain control over it without having to buy it. They'd grown cocky, entitled, lazy, and Silvercrest, they were open to offers. It's just a liability to us at this point, the developer's rep told me. Mowing, insurance, maintenance, it costs more than it brings in. So how much? I asked. We'd consider an offer around $68,000. I nearly choked. That's it? For the one thing this HOA parades like a golden statue? I didn't hesitate. I pulled money from my personal savings, the emergency fund I had built over the years while juggling work, childcare, and divorce fallout. It was the scariest check I'd ever written, and the most satisfying. I didn't tell anyone. I let them believe nothing had changed. The HOA continued their little reign, fining me again when Lily rode her scooter too aggressively on the sidewalk. Dangerous velocity for a child under 6, the citation read. Their audacity was laughable, but I wasn't laughing. I was documenting every fine, every comment, every recorded HOA board meeting, which, lucky for me, were public by law in our state. I even noticed one particular member, Mr. Thorne, bringing up my name more than once. She's trying to challenge our authority. First it's chalk, then it's open rebellion. We need to keep the board strong. It was like I'd become their neighborhood witch, all because my daughter had a voice and I refused to silence her. But they didn't know. I now owned the place their grandkids used to play. I waited. I wanted them to come to me, and soon enough, they did. It started with a flurry of emails. Vivian Ellison, to whom it may concern, our board would like to renew the existing park lease for another 10 years. Please provide us with updated documentation. My response, under a new holding company I formed, we appreciate your interest. Unfortunately, the current owner has changed. Please contact Sinclair Urban Development LLC for all future inquiries. Cue silence, then panic. I received a knock on my door the next day. It was Vivian. Hair perfect, smile sharp as barbed wire. Ms. Sinclair, we'd love to discuss the lease terms with the new owner. Perhaps arrange a meeting? Oh, I said, playing dumb. You didn't hear? Hear what? I held up a copy of the new deed. My name bold at the bottom. I am the new owner. She stared at the paper like it was on fire. You can't be serious. Dead serious. She sputtered something about community legacy, duty, and this isn't how it works. But I smiled politely and closed the door in her face. I knew what would come next. The board called an emergency meeting. I wasn't invited, of course. But that didn't stop Mr. Green, my quiet neighbor, from slipping me a copy of the meeting notes. They were losing it. She's weaponized real estate against us. Can we sue her? Is this even legal? But they had no ground to stand on. Their lease expired in 30 days. Once it did, I had full authority over the park. No more access. No more photos on the HOA website. No more mailers about private amenities. And I wasn't just planning to block it off. I was going to give it away to the community. I filed for a zoning exemption and converted the land into the Lily Garden, a public access micro-park and children's sensory play garden, funded with the rest of my savings. Out with chalk stations, wind chimes, a bubble machine, mural walls, and a sign that read, "Welcome, laugh freely." Right under it, formerly Crescent Hills HOA Park. Vivian tried to block it. She filed 2 injunctions. Both failed. At the ribbon cutting, she stood across the street with folded arms, watching as kids from both inside and outside the neighborhood poured into the space. Someone even handed her a flyer that said, "Quiet isn't peace. Control isn't safety. Children are not violations." I didn't write it. One of the local moms did. But I framed a copy in Lily's bedroom. The Lily Garden opened with 0 help from the HOA. And that was the point. It wasn't just a play area. It was a message. A week after opening, I received a certified letter from the Crescent Hills HOA board. "Miss Sinclair, we believe your recent land acquisition and development efforts may constitute a misrepresentation of HOA-approved amenities, and we request an immediate cease of public signage indicating prior use. Regards, Crescent Hills Estates Board of Directors." I didn't respond. Instead, I posted the letter, blacked out my address, on a local Facebook group under the caption, "Apparently letting kids laugh is a violation now. Good to know." The post exploded. Not just neighbors. Local parents, nearby residents, even a small parenting blog picked it up. The single mom who silenced the HOA by giving the neighborhood its voice back. The very next day, the HOA sent out a mass email. Unauthorized social media sharing of internal communications may result in board action. They were panicking, scrambling, losing the script. Within days, 3 families I had never spoken to before knocked on my door. "We're so sorry we never stood up for you. Honestly, we were afraid of them." It was the same story over and over. They'd been fined for wind chimes, threatened for having basketball hoops. One woman was fined for drying laundry outside during a heat wave. Once my post went viral, more neighbors started sharing their stories, anonymously at first, then with names. It turned into a firestorm. My son was fined for playing violin after school. They told me my porch swing was a distraction. They called my autistic daughter's hand flapping aggressive gesturing. A group of 10 families banded together and requested a formal HOA board audit. Vivian called an emergency board meeting, and this time I went. I didn't need to speak. I just sat in the back with a notebook and a half smile. The room was packed. Most of the board sat stiffly in their polos and pearls, sweating under the AC. "We are under attack," Vivian said. "We need to restore order, reinstate authority." Mr. Green raised his hand. "Order! You fined a mother $1,200 for her daughter laughing." "That was noise compliance," she snapped. "That was cruelty." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. A man stood up, new face, former military, I later learned. "We're starting a petition to dissolve this HOA and replace the board entirely." Dead silence. "We have 84 signatures. More than enough." The HOA charter required only 60 to trigger a recall vote. Vivian went pale. "This is slander. You people are being manipulated." "No," I said quietly, rising to speak for the first time. They're finally awake. Within 3 weeks, the petition passed. The recall went through. Vivian resigned. Mr. Albright tried to threaten legal action, but the board's insurance dropped them. Mr. Thorne stepped down quietly after emails surfaced showing he had tried to get my trash schedule changed behind my back. They weren't just petty. They were desperate to protect control, and they lost it all. The HOA didn't dissolve entirely, but it was reborn. A new board was elected. Mostly younger parents, a retired teacher, even Mr. Green. I declined when asked to join. I didn't want power. I just wanted peace. They retracted all fines issued to me over the past year, and more importantly, they revised the HOA charter. Section 4.3, excessive noise during daylight hours, was replaced with children's expression shall never be considered a nuisance. The air feels different now in Crescent Hills. It's not the houses. They're the same cookie-cutter facades they've always been. Beige and smug, with just a hint of colonial intimidation. It's the people. There's more color on porches, more kids on sidewalks, more laughter, unpunished, unfiltered, unafraid. And on any given afternoon, you'll find a red-headed girl in rainbow sneakers blowing bubbles beside a hand-painted sign that reads, "Welcome to the Lily Garden," where joy is not a violation. That girl is mine, and that garden, that was my revenge. But it didn't come from anger. Not entirely. It came from something deeper, something the HOA never understood. When you try to silence joy, joy doesn't vanish. It fights back. Quietly, patiently, until it owns the land you took for granted. One day, almost a year after everything, I was raking leaves when I noticed Vivian Ellison walking past the park entrance. No pearls, no clipboard, just her. She paused, eyeing the playground like it was a battlefield she'd once lost. Lily was giggling on the monkey bars, shrieking something about invisible dragons. Other kids joined in. Vivian watched for a long moment, then quietly walked away. She never spoke to me again, and I was okay with that. Looking back, I never wanted to fight. I just wanted space, for my daughter to laugh, to sing, to exist without apology. But Crescent Hills taught me a truth I'll never forget. Sometimes the only way to silence cruelty is to make it obsolete. And that's exactly what I did. Have you ever been fined for something absurd? Did your HOA overstep? Tell me in the comments. The craziest story might just be the next episode.